Hello, and welcome to our Eloqua office hours, where we discuss everything Eloqua and marketing automation each month. As a quick note, today's session is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the replay via email tomorrow. At the end of today's presentation, we have two special offers to share with you, so stick around. I'm Sebastian Martinez, Account Director at Forza Marketing, and I'll be your host today. Our presenters are Richard Holder, Director of Marketing at Forza Marketing, and David Soto, Senior System Analyst, also from Forthought. If you have any questions, and we hope that you do, please use the Q&A feature so we can keep everything organized. And with that introduction, let me turn the time over to Richard, who will kick off today's presentation.
All right. Thank you, Sebastian, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Today's topic is data quality. When campaigns underperform, it's tempting to blame factors like creative or segmentation or timing or other factors. But most of the time, it's the data we feed into Eloqua that's the problem. Today, we'll examine some common data issues and what we've run across with clients over the past 15 years. And yes, we'll briefly touch on how these issues matter even more when you start using AI to scale content and personalization and use it for segmentation. Regardless of how you generate your leads, from events or content syndication, social media, advertising, it all comes down to the quality of the data you bring into Eloqua. All caps names, inconsistent values, or fake details are common. You've seen fictional entries like Mickey Mouse or test@test.com. I think I'd be rich if I had a dime for every spam submission caught by a honeypot on our own Forethought Marketing website. It seems to increase every year. One leading global security vendor we've worked with saw over 60% of product trial requests filled with junk data. And these aren't, tens of requests per month. These are thousands of requests per day. So that's a lot of data. They tried filtering these out with hundreds of rules, with mixed results. It persisted until we helped them switch to an automated review and deletion program using cloud apps. Today, their data is clean, and when new spam tactics are seen, they can be dealt with quickly. In Eloqua, we also recommend a contact washing machine and robust update rules. They can help vastly improve data quality. And what are the most common causes of poor quality data? Surprisingly, human error is a common factor. Typos, autofill, and autocorrect mistakes happen every day as people use their phones more and more. If you use content syndication, pay close attention to the data you receive and how your systems process it. I haven't seen yet two different content syndicators that offer a similar format. They all seem to be very different. Data from syndicators can cause havoc if you don't carefully apply standardization and normalization. Also, companies are streamlining their forms. I know we are, and reducing the number of fields to the bare minimum to reduce friction. We play this game where we optimize forms, gathering as little as possible before conversions decline. This makes data enrichment even more critical. Tools that can append job title, company size, LinkedIn ID, industry, or other values that help bridge the gap between short forms and strong targeting. And if you're going to do, really robust personalization, you're going to need those additional data attributes. And finally, just because someone completed a form 3 years ago doesn't mean their information is still correct. Like avoiding the dentist, you cannot prevent data decay without taking appropriate action. You should be updating titles, job roles, and levels, and other key fields your company uses for segmentation regularly. If your data isn't clean or is incomplete, every downstream action will underperform. Personalization, scoring, segmentation, and conversions. Eloqua segmentation tools are potent when used correctly. It may be cliche, but there has never been a better time to send the right message at the right time at the right person. Don't take shortcuts by only using email groups for segmentation. Work with your marketing team to identify additional attributes such as behavioral, demographic, purchase, and activity data to improve results. And let's not forget about inactive contacts, one of my favorite topics. There may be some that argue that we must include them in emails just in case they might reactivate this time. Uh, I think we all have lurkers where they are dormant for a long period of time and then they come back, but you also need to take care to not include those who have not interacted with you for a very long time. And that changes by company. Inactive contents not only drag on your metrics, but they can impact your sender score and reduce deliverability. And finally, adding AI segmentation and personalization tools will only worsen if your data is inaccurate. Imagine the impact if your data causes your AI to hallucinate what to offer and to whom and what you're saying. So you need to really make sure that your data is very, very clean. Your integrations are also a vital part of your data story. If lead scoring says someone is a qualified lead in Eloqua, but then it takes hours or even overnight for this to update your CRM, sales sees a very different story, and that's a problem. This can happen due to sync errors, delays in integration queues, or field mismatches. There's just a whole variety of things that can happen during the integrations that you have to be mindful of. This exact situation happened to one of our clients. They were experiencing lengthy delays with program execution. We solved this by helping them accelerate lead flow from hours to minutes and massively improved the speed to lead. And so, there are ways to accomplish this task and work with you to make sure that you can get the leads as fast as possible. As a result of the work that we did together, this improved sales and built a stronger relationship with the sales team, which is also very important. Another client used the wrong value in a matching rule, blocking a small but measurable number of campaign leads, resulting in lost opportunities. And believe me, your sales team is aware of the kind of flows and the kinds of opportunities that should be coming their way. And if they come back to you and tell you that there's they think there's more, take them at their word and dive in and see if you can help diagnose the problem. They will appreciate your efforts there. Also, fragmented systems cause teams to make decisions on conflicting data, which kills velocity and lowers trust with sales, which is something you never want to do. While not as common, some teams may be tempted to reuse generic fields like custom text one across multiple programs. The result, overwrites, conflicts, and silent failures. Eloqua doesn't stop you from writing to a field. It trusts you to manage it. If multiple programs are writing to the same field, you might not notice issues until reporting breaks, or worse, scoring misfires, or merge problems. Field governance sounds boring, but that's what keeps campaigns predictable. And it's also essential to maintain a data dictionary. Deprecate what you don't use and track your changes every time you make revisions. People change roles, people get promoted, people move to other parts of the organization, and you want to make sure that your data dictionary contains the information that will let the next person take a look at your system and make changes confidently and without impacting the rest of the system. You're running campaigns, people are clicking, but you can't trace it back. Why? Perhaps you're missing UTM parameters or campaign IDs. We often see form processing steps that don't assign a campaign or emails missing tracking links. There's a variety of issues that can happen here. And the biggest challenge with this is that the data is gone for good because it never was presented or stored in Eloqua. And this goes without saying that attribution is hard, and attribution for each company is going to be very different. But it isn't optional, so it's worth putting the time and effort into getting it correct and then ensuring it stays correct over time. And then the more we lean into Gen AI, and this is happening almost everywhere, at different paces, I must say. Some people are diving headfirst into AI, others are taking a much more cautious approach for a variety of reasons. It still makes it critical to ensure that data is fed into the system and it's quality data. AI is not magic, but it can feel like it when it has quality data, the returns and the information and the ideas that it can generate for us in our systems. Everything we've discussed today, from field governance to attribution to segment hygiene, doesn't happen spontaneously. Someone needs to own it. That's why we highly recommend having a dedicated data steward who spends time weekly on data quality, not just when something breaks. In the next part of today's session, David, who is a very experienced data steward, and he was actually one for a company I worked for previously when I was a client of Forethought, and he did a great job. David will explain this role and why it matters and how it can help transform marketing performance. In conclusion, data quality issues have always existed, but they're becoming harder to ignore. Campaigns are more complex, our systems are more connected, and expectations are higher. We're being asked increasingly to do more, faster, and with less, and AI is only making this even more challenging. You don't need to roll out AI to fix all of these problems, but if you do use AI in your systems, clean data becomes non-negotiable. Fixing segments, making sure that your data is syncing properly, that you're using fields properly, that they're populated properly before you use them in your campaigns, and having robust attribution will pay off today and help future-proof, say that, your stack for whatever's next. And remember, data hygiene isn't a quarterly activity, it's a continuous process. Clean data should be part of your weekly workflow. One final suggestion before we move on to questions. Before you end your day today, identify one data challenge you would love to fix today or this quarter. It doesn't have to be a big project. Sometimes the low-hanging fruit offer the best value. It just needs to provide the value that you're looking for and solve a problem and help improve your data. Write this down and start working on it. Or better yet, ask your data steward to champion the effort, and you could delegate this to a better qualified member of your team, perhaps. With that concludes my remarks. Thank you very much. I'll turn the time back to Sebastian if there are any questions.
Thank you, Richard. That was great information. As a reminder, please use the Q&A option for questions. And we actually have one. Let me read through this. It says, do you have any recommendations on data enrichment tools?
That's an excellent question. I'm not going to name a particular tool that I think works better than others, especially with some of the new integration tools that are out in the market, which are opening up the opportunity for tools that don't have a direct Eloqua integration. But there are a number of solutions listed out in the Oracle marketplace that do a great job Each of them offer, different benefits and different capabilities. So I would recommend that you take a look at the Oracle Marketplace and um, choose one or two of those to evaluate if you don't have a solution, and then begin use it in your systems. I'm confident that it will help you.
Okay, very good. We don't have any other questions at the time. So with that, I'll hand the mic over to David.
Thank you, Sebastian, and good morning, everyone. So today I am going to um, talk about data stewardship. So what is data stewardship? Well, it is a proactive management and governance of data quality throughout its life cycle in this case, your marketing technology stack or Eloqua. What are some of the key responsibilities that I see in a data steward role? So we like to have all the data in the right format. So ensuring data accuracy and completeness is a must. If we want to maintain data consistency across different systems, so basically we don't like garbage data. We also proactively monitor the data quality metrics because we like to keep an eye on the data to make sure it is okay. We facilitate seamless system integrations because we like good integrations and we like good data to flow to these different integrations and systems. And we also like to implement data governance policies because we like to keep things tidy and make sure everyone follows the rules. So what is the cost of some poor data quality? Well, without proper data stewardship, there are some critical issues that the organizations could face. Validation errors in the lead creation process. So if the CRM and Eloqua data validations don't match, there could be a data not being sent to the CRM. For example, a new validation for a job level or industry was implemented, let's say last quarter, but was never notified or implemented into Eloqua. That is going to generate issues in the long run. Lost leads and revenue opportunities. So if the validations in the CRM prevent a lead from being created because the fields are required and the correct data is not present in the request sent by Eloqua, that's going to lose that lead. If the job level or industry are required fields to create a new lead in the CRM, and we don't have the value, or we have the value, but it is in an incorrect format, well, the lead won't get to the CRM and no one will know about this. Format inconsistencies causing update failures or incorrect data being sent to the CRM. So one of the most common examples that I experience is that sometimes CRMs accept specific formats, most notably on pick lists, and let's say through a form submission that doesn't have the correct validation or the correct pick list, or a list upload where the validation could be bypassed, and we try to send this data to the CRM, we are going to face issues. If the data does get into the CRM, then we will have two systems with the wrong data. So the issue is going to become a little bit bigger. And if we add some EDW or enterprise data warehouse, then we are going to keep increasing the size of the issue. We also could experience a decrease in the marketing campaign effectiveness. So if we have missing field data or data with the correct values or formats, we could be excluding contacts from some campaigns because they don't match the segmentation criteria that we are expecting. And well, at the end of the day, we could give the customer a poor experience. We might not be adding the customers to a specific campaign, or we might be sending them incorrect data through email communications because of the incorrect or missing data that we have. However, it is true that some of these issues might have been introduced by the customer, some autocorrect, as Richard mentioned, or some autofill. But we, as data stewards, should at least try to fix the mistakes they've made to a certain degree. Now, there are some essential data monitoring strategies that I follow. So here are the 4 pillars that I'm going to discuss here. Well, the first one is audit the current data quality status. This will give you a general view of the status of the data in your system. We are focusing in Eloqua right now, but this can apply to the multiple systems and environments that you have. So you might want to create some segments to validate the status of the data. You might want to export the data and use external tools like Excel, or use an AI agent to analyze the patterns of your data. The important part here is that you are able to identify potential deficiencies in the data. Now, you need to identify the critical data fields and sources. By identifying these critical fields, you will focus your efforts in the most important data points that you care about. This doesn't mean that the other fields are going to be ignored. It's just that they will not be a priority when monitoring the data. You can start by identifying the main inbound sources of your instance, like form submissions, list uploads, integrations, and making a note of the fields used in these sources, making sure that the correct validation is in place for them. Then we need to monitor. We need to monitor not only the inbound data that we receive, but also the outbound data that we are sending. So we don't want bad data being sent to the CRM, or we don't want data staying just in Eloqua because there was a validation error in the integration process. Keeping an eye up for potential issues through segments and active monitoring of the integrations will save you a lot of headaches down the road. The legacy integration and the new Eloqua integration apps, they both have logs displaying any errors in the process. So you will want to monitor these messages to find a potential issue and help you determine the root causes of these errors. Something annoying that could happen, more so if you use the integration apps, is that sometimes the contacts get stuck in the program or the campaign where you have the apps, and they don't move forward with the process. So that will require a bit more effort on your part of monitoring these programs, these critical programs, and moving the records back to be reprocessed by the integration. And the last part is, well, fixed issues. These could be as easily as adding a validation to a form, as updating a pick list that would take you 5 minutes to fix, or it could require reaching out to the CRM team and ask them to help you identify the expected format or the expected value of a specific field. So this task could take from 5 minutes to a 2-week ticket in your system. Some of the issues that I found in my process of doing data stewardship include, well, I've talked about this before, but incorrect pick lists used in forms. So sometimes values change. Sometimes we don't get notified when this happens. This could also mean that new validations rules were put in place without our knowledge, or simply another teammate just updated the pick list, causing some issues in the process. We've had incorrect values being sent to the CRM if there is a validation error and this happens, well, we need to do a bit more digging to know what's the expected value and how we should fix it. I've if you're using the integration app or pretty much just any integration in Eloqua, there are logs that you can check, and this will help you a lot. And in the case of the integration app, since you can use it inside a program, you could create an error flow um, that the contacts will fall if the call fails. This other flow could retry the call after a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, or you can add them to a share list to have to look at them later on and see why they wouldn't um, work, why they error out. Again, the logs of the apps are going to be helpful determining the root cause and the potential fix. I've had garbage data in, let's say, job fields, but you can um, swap job with any other field name. Um, Something that we always recommend is to use a normalization process. Richard mentioned the use of the contact washing machine. That's something that we use internally as well. Um, we also create a comprehensive lookup table of different job titles to be used in a job level or job role normalization flow. And we also use company matching in case we need to bring account data into the mix. And stock members in the cloud apps. This is, as I mentioned before, one of the most annoying errors because you need to monitor the critical programs, campaign canvas or program canvas in your flow that use apps and keep them in your radar. In the case of our customers, what I try to do is break down the flow. So only keep uh, the critical steps in the main flow. And then if I can, I just break down different apps into different programs so that they don't get affected um, by any potential issue of such. And well, that concludes my part. I'm handling back to you, Sebastian, for any questions.
All right, thank you, David. As a reminder, please use the Q&A option to ask questions. We actually do have another question. It's a bit long, so let me read through it. It says, how can we improve lead creation in Eloqua without constantly dealing with daily sync errors from the Eloqua Salesforce integration app? We've tried the usual fixes, but the issues keep coming back, slowing us down. We'd love to hear any best practices or setup tips to make the process more reliable and reduce the need for manual work.
Okay, good question. Um, my best advice is to check the logs, the error message that you are receiving, because that could be a very big hint. If it says that you are sending an incorrect value for a sub industry or an industry field, then that means that there is a form or there is a list upload that doesn't have the correct validation, and you could you need to target that specific asset and fix it. I was mentioning the use of different flows. If the errors that you are seeing is that they are not creating the leads, then maybe if you're waiting for some data from some data enrichment tool, or you need to wait a little bit for something to populate in the contact, you might want to add a wait step or create an error flow that will um, move that contact record to a share list or to a retry of the same call to see if that happens, because sometimes it's just a hiccup in the Salesforce or Eloqua instances, and it will fix after a small amount of time. So maybe doing that will also help.
Yeah, let me just add to that, because I think it just bears repeating that, when you uncover these issues in the integrations, um, just fixing the single issue is not the goal. The real goal is to identify where upstream in the processes where there was a breakdown and an incorrect value was allowed to be entered into the system or to be updated, and try to correct those issues sooner rather than after it's already entered into the integration.
Well said, yeah.
Okay, very good. I will pause briefly to see if there are any additional questions. Okay, seems like that's all the questions we have for today.